tomorrow morning, close to 70% of learners will be headed back to school as more grades get phased in after the COVID-19 break. Now, that number will increase to 100% in a week's time as all grades will be officially back to school. But there are concerns surrounding the readiness of schools to receive more pupils and the capacity of the education department to ensure the safety of learners and staff and enforce COVID-19 regulation. Let's talk about that. Joining us now, Department of Education spokesperson Elijah Mhlanga. Elijah, good evening. It's good to have you with us tonight. Unions have expressed concern as we reopen and we're getting more grades to come on. In fact, the word they use is Monday will be chaotic. Do you share that concern, and how are you managing the situation?
Good evening, Thabo. Yes, it's correct. There could be chaos on Monday because we have millions of children who have not been back at school since the first closure in March. So they are not familiar with the environment under COVID, where there's social distancing that needs to be observed, as well as the wearing of masks. And they are going back to classrooms that have since changed. Even the school itself, the way you entered in March is not the same that you are going to be entering the school tomorrow. So all those things they have to contend with. So we hope that the teachers and the parents will talk to them to make sure that they prepare accordingly for them to be able to cope in this new environment.
Now, the circular that you sent to the teachers in the week says all grades must be back on Monday, but others will be getting day offs weekly. Now, responding to this, some of the principals are saying, well, this schedule is quite meaningless as the conditions on the ground have not been addressed.
No. The arrangement is not meaningless. To start with, not all the grades are going back. It's grade R, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, 9, 10, 11, who are joining grade 7 and grade 12, who have already been in school since the first week of June, except for the grade that took place in the week of July. And we know the matriculants went back on the 3rd of August. Grade 7s went back on the 11th of August. So those grades have been in school. But what is going to happen is that these grades that we're saying are going back to school are not necessarily all going back at once. What is going to happen is that schools will arrange either weekly rotations or daily rotations, which means the different grades will take turns in going to school. So you're not going to see a school receiving all the learners at once and using its full capacity. It's not going to be like that. So schools are prepared and they know what they're supposed to do. So I'm quite perplexed by what you just mentioned.
But Elijah, are you not passing the buck here to the principals on plans that are not yet solid? Principals are saying, in fact, parents must come to the grounds of the schools to see the reality of it. For example, you've got the social distancing requirement, which in some instances a school would already be using the capacity of that school. And when you bring more grades in, there is really no space to put them in there.
Yeah, I think there's a misunderstanding in what is actually supposed to be happening tomorrow. I don't know whether it's you or the people that you have spoken to. What we are saying is that the principals have a job to do. We have a job to do. The district officials have a job to do, so as the circuit managers and officials at the provincial level. What has been happening is that we've been communicating what needs to happen. We've revised the standard operating procedures. What is happening tomorrow? The grades that we say should go back to school for orientation. The learners who have not been back at school are supposed to be told how to behave in this new normal, which they are going to encounter tomorrow when they go to school. From then on, they will be told when they should be going to school. By the way, there are schools that apply for a deviation, which means they have been already bringing other grades much earlier than the 24th of August. So they have some experience in implementing the rotational system, which they've chosen to use in the school. So that's exactly what is happening.
So
Remember,
these are concerns that are raised by NEPTOSA and SATU and the IFP in KwaZulu-Natal. one of the issues that is being raised is that sufficient teachers to make the timetable work have not been appointed, particularly those that need to replace teachers with comorbidities and those of age who are vulnerable to COVID-19. Now, how many applications have you received as a department from teachers who are opting to stay away because of comorbidities and because of age?
Well, making general statement or generic statement is not going to assist because work has been done. Provinces have already prepared the schools to receive these learners. We received some 27,000 applications, and more than 50% of them have since been approved, which means their substitute teachers have since been appointed as well. It may not be in all the schools because not all the schools might require substitute teachers, but where there's a need, these have been processed.
But
so
my
schools
question to you, Elijah, is how many applications from teachers to stay away have you received?
I answered that question. I said 27,000.
27,000. How many have you replaced? Have you replaced all 27,000?
Well, it's not all of them. Remember, it's a process which involves health professionals as well.
That's exactly it. It's not speculation. The process is saying in KZN, 6,000 teachers applied to stay away. And those teachers in KwaZulu-Natal have not been replaced. So how are we going to ensure that learners, when they come back, there is a teacher in place?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to explain to you, that it seems there is a misunderstanding that you expect all the learners to be back in school at the same time, and that is not going to be the case. There are other learners who will not be in school. When they are not in school, their teachers will be able to close that gap that would exist if a teacher did not come back. So because the school will always be operating at 50%, there will always be teachers who will be there to make sure that no learner is left behind, no classroom does not have a teacher. So because of that social distancing, we'll always have less than the capacity of the learners that are supposed to be in that school. So that will allow for the school to manage the gaps that could exist as a result of teachers that might have applied for permission to work from home due to their medical conditions.
So essentially that will see then learners being still at school right up until December 15, which are also going to have issues of capacity when it comes to matriculants writing, because not all schools have got halls that will be able to accommodate matriculants. How are you going to address that situation?
Exactly the same arrangement that I've explained will be in place because the schools, only a few grades will use the school, which means there will be classrooms which will not necessarily be in use. So all of that will be in use. That's why we're saying it will be a rotational system. Some schools have already grouped their grades and they are coming at different days. The matrics are always there, but the other grades are taking turns coming to school. So all those things are going to be implemented to make sure that we manage the space. And remember, we have more primary schools than high schools. We have about 18,000 primary schools or so. So there, we are not going to have a problem. High schools, we are going to manage the numbers by implementing the approach that the different schools would have.
But is this approach not going to be a problem in terms of meeting that timetable of finishing the curriculum within this year still?
No, we don't want to finish the curriculum at all costs. We have said that let's get back to school, do what we can do, and make sure that we do as much work that can be done under the current circumstances, which are difficult. So here we are saying every person must play their part, play their role. The parent must make sure that they support their child by even going to school to make sure that the child is comfortable going back there. But also the teachers must do their part, school principals must manage, and the department officials must also come on board to make sure that schools are able to manage. Because remember, the coronavirus is still there. There could still be confirmed cases. So all of those things will need to be managed together. We need a partnership here. We need to focus on solutions and not point fingers, because what we need right now for the system to continue to work without any further disruptions is solutions and alternatives and innovation that will come from all members of society that are concerned with the management of the basic education system in the current environment.
Elijah, let's leave it there. I appreciate your time tonight. Elijah Mhlanga speaking on behalf of the Department of Basic Education.